I believe that every single person in this country should be treated with dignity and respect. We all have worth, and we should all be looked at as citizens of this great nation, no matter our station, no matter where we sleep.
Hey, GRIO fam, it's Gerren Keith Gaynor, White House correspondent and managing editor of politics at theGrio, and I'm here with the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge. Madam Secretary, welcome to theGrio. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
So I want to start here because in the words of the infamous words of the former politician, Jimmy McMillan, the rent is too damn high. There was a Harvard study recently that was released that showed that a record half of U.S. renters are paying rent that is deemed unaffordable. What is the Biden-Harris administration doing to tackle this disproportionate rent burden for Black and brown renters?
First, he was absolutely right. The rent is too damn high. I agree with him 100%. But it is too high because we just don't have enough housing. We don't have enough units of rental housing to create some competition. So people that have it are basically, in many cases, not all cases, are gouging people because they know that they can get more. There are a number of things we're doing. We are encouraging multifamily building. So we are, through FHA, doing more lending in that respect. We are making our resources through CDBG, through home, through tax credits, working with our housing finance agencies, finding ways to encourage the building of more units. Because until we can build more rental units, the prices are not going to go down significantly. So that's the number one thing, is we're making it at least so that people, developers, and particularly Black developers, can get into the business and start to build housing in communities where we believe strongly that we have the ability and we can make it profitable. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We are as well finding ways to give out more vouchers than have ever been given out before. We have given more vouchers in our time here than have been given out in the last 20 years. We are finding ways to assist people through other programs through the federal government and programs that we have. You know, of course, we were the people who did rental assistance to help people stay in their apartments during the pandemic. We are the ones that are helping people stay in their homes as well. But there's only one real solution to it, and that's building more housing. Because until there is competition, we're always going to have this problem.
And I know your office has also been tackling the issue of junk fees. Can you talk a little bit about that? I would imagine some renters don't even know that they're paying what are called junk fees. And on average, how much would one renter be paying in such junk fees?
Think about it this way. You apply for an apartment and they charge you $50 for an application fee. Okay? Something simple as that. But if you apply for 2 or 3, you could be applying in the same unit, the same building with the same owners, and they're going to charge you a fee every time. Or bank fees. Let's say that you made a mistake and you have a check that didn't clear. Those are the kind of fees that start to add up significantly. When you think about those kinds of fees, application fees, background check fees, they become very expensive to the point where it almost could be worth a month's rent. So what we're trying to do is say to people that those things are unfair. And to the credit of the people we have been working with, the Zillows and those people of the world, they have said, we agree with you. We're not going to continue to charge these fees on a duplicate basis. So every time you apply to us, we're not going to charge you a fee. It makes a huge difference when you are working on small margins, $50, $100 a month, $60, $70 a month. It makes a difference. And across the country, it's just massive. Bank fees in particular are just outrageous. Credit card fees, all of those fees add up. So that's why we're addressing the junk fee issue very strongly.
It adds up indeed. And President Biden, in his 2024 budget, I believe there is an increase of over $1 billion for HUD programs. What does the president's budget say about his commitment to addressing racial equity issues in housing in particular? And you are a former member of Congress. Given what we are seeing in this current Congress and the House in particular, where the budget they keep passing these supplementals, these temporary funding bills, do you think that this Congress will approve the president's budget as relates to the HUD's programs?
I certainly hope it does, because the old saying is that if you really want to know what someone's priorities are, look at their budget. That is where you know where they put their money, where their mouth is. That's what makes the difference. And this president, this administration has been very, very committed to addressing the housing crisis in this country, because it is a crisis, not just of just rents and mortgages, but also of unhoused people. It is a huge crisis, homes everywhere you go, no place is safe. But I would also say that if the Congress does not pass a budget and we continue to work on continuing resolutions, we're going to be able to serve fewer people. Because as prices go up, as you mentioned, if we don't get more money, we're going to be able to serve less people. It's just basic math. So if they continue to just operate just month after month after month with the same budget, when we know that we need more resources, people are going to be left out. And those people primarily are going to look like you and me.
And you mentioned the unhoused community. There's a case before the Supreme Court where they will rule on a case that could allow cities to fine and maybe even jail unhoused people. I know you can't comment on a current legal case, but generally, what do you make of the idea of cities jailing or fining those who are unhoused?
I would say you're right. I cannot comment on a legal issue, but I would say this to you. I believe that every single person in this country should be treated with dignity and respect. We all have worth, and we should all be looked at as citizens of this great nation, no matter our station, no matter where we sleep. I would just say that it is incumbent upon all of us to do what is right and to treat people the way that they should be treated. That's my answer to that.
And lastly, Secretary, as you know, there is a racial gap in home ownership. It's been persistent for decades. Could you talk about some of the work that you've been doing to help close that gap?
We are doing more and more counseling to try to get Black and brown people into housing. So we're doing the work that we know prepares people to get involved. We've been having house parties. We've been having counseling sessions. Everything we can do to reach out. We just even last year passed a reduction in the mortgage insurance. You know, most people will go and get a mortgage and let's say it's $100, and then they get their statement. They say, well, why do I owe this other $100? It's because it's mortgage insurance. So we reduced that to let people get into houses a little less. It's going to help about 850,000 people do that. We are making it easier to get underwriting and support from FHA through things like looking at how we address student loan debt, looking at making sure that we have programs that address first-time home buyers, generational home buyers. So there are many programs, and I encourage people to go to our website or to call our office so that we can encourage you to find ways to help yourself in your communities and to start to do things like building your own wealth. And lastly, and most importantly, we are addressing very, very strongly and very actively fair housing. Fair housing is the law of the land, but there's still a great deal of discrimination in the housing market. We are looking at it. We are bringing lawsuits. We are talking with everyone that we can to let them know that we are shining a light on how people are treated in this country just because of the color of their skin.
Madam Secretary Marcia Fudge, thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you very much.